how Zuckerberg's AI strategy is rewriting the foundations of Instagram and Facebook. But before we start the video, please like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any news about Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg's decision to position artificial intelligence as the central pillar of Meta's future marks a defining moment for Instagram and Facebook. This is not merely a technological upgrade, nor a temporary response to market trends. It is a fundamental reconfiguration of how these platforms function, how value is created within them, and how users experience digital interaction. What once revolved around social graphs and personal connections is steadily transforming into an AI-driven ecosystem optimized for attention, prediction, and scale. At the core of this strategy lies Meta's expanding reliance on algorithmic content distribution. Increasingly, what users see on Instagram and Facebook is shaped less by their explicit choices, such as who they follow, and more by what artificial intelligence determines to be relevant, engaging, or profitable. This evolution reflects Zuckerberg's belief that the future of social media is not purely social, but intelligently curated. In practice, this means that AI is becoming the primary editor of the digital world Meta controls. There is a certain efficiency to this approach that is difficult to ignore. AI-driven feeds often feel more dynamic, more engaging, and more aligned with individual interests. Yet, this same efficiency subtly shifts power away from users. The platforms no longer simply reflect human networks. They actively reinterpret them. The question is no longer, who do you want to hear from? But rather, what should you be shown right now? A distinction that may seem minor, but carries significant cultural weight. Zuckerberg's plan also signals a departure from the idea that social platforms are neutral spaces. AI systems do not merely distribute content. They shape incentives. Creators quickly learn what formats, tones, and narratives are favored by the algorithm and adapt accordingly. Over time, this feedback loop narrows creative diversity, even as it increases output. While Meta frames this as democratization, giving anyone a chance to go viral, it is, in reality, a competition governed by rules only the algorithm fully understands. Another critical dimension of this transformation is Meta's push toward generative AI. By integrating AI tools capable of producing images, videos, text, and advertisements, Zuckerberg is accelerating content creation at an unprecedented pace. This lowers production costs and empowers small creators, but it also raises questions about saturation and authenticity. When content becomes easier to generate, attention becomes more scarce, and AI inevitably takes on a greater role in deciding what deserves to be seen. In effect, Meta is both flooding the system and controlling the floodgates. From a commercial standpoint, the logic is clear. AI enhances advertising precision, automates optimization, and increases monetization efficiency. Instagram and Facebook become not just platforms for expression, but finely tuned economic engines. However, this efficiency comes with a trade-off. Transparency becomes harder to achieve, and accountability becomes more abstract. Decisions that once involved human judgment are now embedded in complex models, shielded from public scrutiny. Internally, Zuckerberg's emphasis on AI has reshaped Meta's priorities and identity. Massive investments in AI infrastructure, data centers, and proprietary computing systems underline a long-term commitment that goes beyond short-term product improvements. This is a declaration of intent. Meta is positioning itself less as a social media company and more as an AI company that happens to own social platforms. Ultimately, Zuckerberg's AI strategy is redefining the nature of connection on Instagram and Facebook. Interaction is no longer driven primarily by relationships, but by relevance as defined by machines. Whether this leads to deeper engagement or a more passive form of consumption remains an open question. What is clear, however, is that AI is no longer operating behind the scenes. It is now the visible architecture shaping how billions of people experience the digital world. As Mark Zuckerberg accelerates Meta's transition toward artificial intelligence-driven platforms, the long-term implications for Instagram and Facebook extend far beyond product features or monetization strategies. This shift reshapes how information circulates, how influence is constructed, and how individuals relate to digital spaces that increasingly mediate reality itself. AI is no longer an invisible layer optimizing performance. It is becoming the defining logic of social interaction within Meta's ecosystem. One of the most profound consequences of this transformation is the redefinition of trust. Traditionally, users trusted social platforms because content originated from known connections or familiar sources. In an AI-curated environment, trust is displaced from people to systems. Users are encouraged to rely on the platform's judgment rather than their own networks. While this often results in more engaging feeds, it also introduces a quiet dependency on algorithmic decision-making, where relevance is continuously recalculated without explicit user awareness. This dependence becomes more complex as generative AI content expands across Instagram and Facebook. When images, videos, and text can be produced at scale by machines, the distinction between human expression and synthetic output grows increasingly blurred. This is not inherently negative, but it does challenge long-held assumptions about authenticity online. If AI-generated content performs better, spreads faster, and is optimized for engagement, it naturally reshapes cultural norms. Over time, originality risks being defined less by human creativity and more by algorithmic compatibility. Another long-term effect lies in the consolidation of influence. AI-driven systems tend to amplify what already works, reinforcing dominant narratives and successful formats. While this creates efficiency, it also reduces friction, and friction is often where meaningful debate and innovation emerge. Instagram and Facebook may become smoother, more entertaining spaces, yet potentially less surprising. In prioritizing predictability, AI risks flattening complexity, even as it claims to personalize experience. From a societal perspective, Zuckerberg's AI strategy also raises questions about agency. When platforms decide not only what content is shown but also assist in creating it, users move from being active participants to semi-guided operators within a predefined system. Choice still exists, but it is subtly framed. The result is an environment where behavior is shaped not through coercion, but through optimization, a far more effective and less visible form of influence. It is important to acknowledge that Meta's approach is not occurring in isolation. The broader technology industry is moving in the same direction, driven by competition, scale, and economic pressure. However, Meta's reach amplifies the consequences. With billions of users across Instagram and Facebook, even small algorithmic adjustments can produce global effects. This places an immense responsibility on decisions that are often framed internally as technical or commercial rather than cultural. Zuckerberg has repeatedly emphasized openness, innovation, and empowerment as guiding principles of Meta's AI development. Yet, openness in an AI-driven system does not necessarily equate to transparency. As models grow more complex, understanding why certain content succeeds or fails becomes increasingly difficult, even for creators themselves. This opacity may protect intellectual property, but it also distances users from the mechanisms shaping their attention and behavior. In the end, the transformation of Instagram and Facebook under Zuckerberg's AI vision reflects a broader shift in how digital power is exercised. Social platforms are no longer just mirrors of human interaction. They are active architects of experience. Whether this architecture ultimately enriches public discourse or narrows it will depend not only on technological capability, but on governance, accountability, and the values embedded within these systems. As this chapter closes, one conclusion becomes unavoidable. Artificial intelligence is no longer an enhancement to social media. It is its foundation. Instagram and Facebook are evolving into environments where machines decide relevance, pace, and visibility. The success of this vision will not be measured solely by engagement metrics or revenue growth, but by whether users remain truly connected, not just to content, but to each other, in a world increasingly shaped by intelligent systems.